Good afternoon, everybody. My name is David Goodman. I'm the director of the China Studies Centre here at the University of Sydney. Before we begin, I'd like to acknowledge and pay respects to the land on which the university is based, its elders past, present and emerging, and acknowledge that the land on which we are organised was stolen and never surrendered to anybody other than its original inhabitants. Today, I'm very pleased to be able to say we can welcome one of Taiwan's leading sociologists, Ming-Chang Tsai, who's here to talk about his project on perceptions of global power in East Asia. The session is going to be moderated by Jindong Yuan from the discipline of government and international relations. And before I hand over to Jindong to introduce the speaker, can I remind any of you who wish to ask questions, as you're very welcome to do, that you should use the Q&A function at the bottom of the Zoom screen, and JD will pose those questions to Professor Tsai. Over now to Jindong Ye. Thank you very much.
Thank you, David. Welcome to the webinar. So let me just say a few words to introduce Professor Tsai. Professor Chai-Ming Zhang is a research fellow in the Research Center for Humanities and Social Science at the Academia Sinica, so it's a Zhongyang Yanjiu Yuan. And he's also a professor of sociology at the National Taipei University in Taiwan. And he has previously served as the president of the Taiwanese Sociological Association and has led many projects conducting similar research in the public opinion survey and cross-national comparative survey, including the World Values Survey and the East Asian Social Survey. His research focuses on comparative social and political values and well-being issues. He has published widely, including the most prestigious journals, such as the China Quarterly, Journal of Contemporary Asia, among many others. He's the author of the book, Global Exposure in East Asia, published by Routledge. So we'll have about 35 minutes to 40 minutes by Professor Tsai, and then we'll open up for questions. And please remember to send in your questions in the Q&A function. Now over to you, Professor Tsai.
Okay. So I'd like to thank you, Professor David Goodman and Professor Jindong Yuan. I'm very happy to present some of my work I have done here as a visiting scholar in China Studies Center since last year, starting from July. This is a 1 year's visiting. So I'm going back to Taiwan to my job on the 2nd of July. That's the whole year. I've been spending in University of Sydney happily, and I'd like to take this chance to thank Professor Goodman again for hosting my visit. This is a wonderful time. So hopefully I have something to return today for this talk. I'm talking about a project I'm working on with Professor Salvatore Barbonas, also in University of Sydney. We have been exchanging idea and working together on some large-scale value surveys. This is one of it. The title of my talk today is Institution, Buffers, and Ideology, Perception of Global Power in Australia and Asia. So this is basically a presentation of the finding from a survey, a large survey, and it had become quite popular to studying how the common people see global and regional power, how these so-called big powers affect their own countries. So in political science, you can see this as a key indicator of a strength of their soft power. For example, we are talking about in this study, I'm talking about the U.S. and China is a global power, how they affect individual country from the perspective of common people. And you see that this kind of public opinion has been a key factors in policy making by the local government. This is what is called domestic origin of foreign policy. This is a big area for study in political science and international relationship. Today, I'm going to propose three theories to explain how people see or perceive global power. The first one, institutional similarity. The second one, government as buffer. Third one, nationalist ideology. These are, for me, the key explaining a theory of people's response to the global power. I proposed these relevant hypotheses and provide empirical evidence to evaluate each of them. The first one, institutional similarity. This is what is called a macro level theory. What I mean by institutional similarity is that there has been quite some research, especially in the field of sociology, in terms of a world society concept that the country from developed world has been setting examples for how to set up a government and social institutions for many other developing countries. So the country from developing lower income area try to learn something, especially in terms of institutional building, so that they can become more modernized states. This is a grand theory, a big logic. Or you can say that this is also a structural convergence model. Means that the developing countries has a very strong interest of imitating model countries, and therefore they might develop a pro attitude. This is just a hypothesis. So the first one, similarity with the modernized country with regard to economic and political institutions generates a favorable attitude toward the US, but not China, So the US is a country to learn from, but not China. So this is should be some different. The second one is buffers. Global powers can sometimes be seen to be uncertain about the impact, and it's not that we know what they are going to affect in individual own countries. In which way? So things are uncertain. It could be good, could be harmful. So there's a high level of ambivalence in deciding whether global power are friend or not. So in this situation, people might use some buffers to help them to decide whether the global power are favorable or not. Two buffers I'm looking at in this study. The first one, the government, whether the government can operate as a protection against potential harm from great power. The second one is concerning economic condition. If the country is having a fast economic growth in the people's viewpoints, they might therefore be less concerned about harmful effect of global power, and in this way the domestic economic condition in their view can be seen as a buffer. So the government and the economic condition are two important cushion to prevent unwanted shocks or unexpected trouble, and so on. So my second hypothesis is that perceived economic condition and the government efficacy are positively correlated with acceptance of global power, both the US and China. Remember, this hypothesis is not a macro level hypothesis. This is what I say the micro level, because I'm talking about the individual's perception of whether the government can be trusted, or whether the economic condition of the country is good or bad. The third one, global power can sometimes, probably often, can be seen a threat to many things: economic growth, political sovereignty, cultural identity, and international security, and so on. So nationalism sometimes is developed as a response to global powers that often bring more harm and benefit in the people's viewpoints. So if an individual has strong belief in maintaining an ethnic boundary, and imagine the community, you might like to say it this way, then they are more likely to be against the global powers. So hypothesis 3, an individual's nationalist ideology leads to an unfavorable attitude toward global power, US and China included. So this is basically the three the three hypotheses I proposed for testing the data and the method. I'm using a data set, a large survey data, which is called Asian Barometer. I have the recent, most recent data at hand. The data were collected during 2018 to 19. This Asia Barometer is a big project supported by National Taiwan University and the Ministry of Science and Technology in Taiwan. And they basically, this is a Taiwan-based survey project. However, it includes a lot of Asian countries, including Australia, and 13 East and the Southeast Asian country. I will show you the list of the country later on. It's a national probability samples. Each country, they have a respondent more than 1,000. For China, it has 3,000. And also in Australia, I think it has 1,500 respondents in Australia survey. So it's a big and a reliable survey data. In my view, this could be the best source for anyone who wants to study a political value and the international relationship in this area. Now let's go to the outcome. This is our dependent variable. How favorable is the influence of US and China for your own country? This is the question they ask in the survey. And here I have 14 countries from Australia in the first, and then this is East Asian country, Japan, South Korea, Taiwan, and China, Hong Kong. And then to the Southeast Asia, I have Philippines, Malaysia, Singapore, Thailand, Vietnam, Myanmar, Indonesia, India, and Mongolia. These India and Mongolia are recently added to this survey. So it covers quite a large range of different countries, including high income, low income, regional diversity also covered. And the blue bar, you recognize the blue bar, it's the US influence. The scale is from 1 to 5 points. The higher point means that in average, people are more like to say that the influence of US are favorable. So you see that the Philippines, Vietnam, and India are three the countries that favored the US most than the other country. And the orange bar, I don't know, this is original is red, but in my computer it become orange. Okay, so I try to use blue and versus red. Okay, anyway, you can see that the three countries that favor the China most. Thailand is Thailand. Thailand here, and Singapore. I'm sorry. Thailand, Singapore, Malaysia, the three countries in Southeast Asia. And now, how do we understand or explain these differences? this is one of our key mission in this project. Remember, I also have other interesting survey about their current economic condition according to the respondent in the survey. This is high and low. Okay, China. Most people in China says condition is good, but in Hong Kong is bad. South Korea is not that good. It's very interesting response. It's country pattern. And also government efficacy. This is more complicated. I use several indicators to measure government efficiency as seen by the respondent. These are the five items I used to come up with the measure. Basically, you can say that this is something like a trust in the state, and or you believe that the capability of the government in making things, in doing things, and this is the coming out. The average score for the government efficacy. Some are high, some are low. China is high, not bad. Australian, Singapore, Thailand, this is about 0.3. Nationalism. I use three measures to ask the average score of nationalism for each individuals. The first one, they have to answer, our country should do more to defend our life. The second item is our country should limit the imports of foreign goods to protect our farmers and workers. And the third, do you think that the government should decrease the inflow of foreigners who come to work in our country? If they answer positive to this question, they get a higher score of nationalism. And you see that Australia, Thailand, Indonesia are three countries that has higher score in nationalism. Means that they are not necessarily open to foreign workers or imports. They're more concerned about keeping their boundaries of this country with the others versus others. But some of the countries are quite open. For example, Hong Kong and Japan, Taiwan, relatively, especially Japan, they are used to be thought of the very a high concern of nationalism, and it's not really that. Okay, now I have several measures for what I call institutional similarity. I have four of them. The first one is economic freedom condition. These are all measures for the societal structure or social institutions, whether a country is considered high or low in terms of economic freedom, or they are concerned with high or low in a score for globalization. These are all available data set from many resources. Also, I will show you the democratization index. These are one of the most popular measures for democratization designed by a institute called Variety of Democracy in Sweden. Also have finally, the Human Development Index. This is more a index of economic and social modernization developed by World Bank. Now, let's go to the finding. I'm trying to show that whether the institutional similarity to the modern Western society could have an effect on how people think that the US is favorable. But the outcome does not show that. For example, here you can see that the country has higher score on economic freedom. For example, Hong Kong, Singapore. Their score for US, whether US is favorable or not, they have actually a lower score in Singapore and Hong Kong. So you can see that this is a negative correlation. Otherwise, I'm expecting a life going from here to there, but this is not the direction I expected. The same thing here. Globalized countries that are more globalized are not necessarily in favor of the US. So this, you can see that these are more globalized countries, but they are not necessarily in favor of US. And this is no difference whether you are having a higher liberal democracy index or not. The score for US influence remains the same. This is shows that there's no correlation at all. This is also a negative. The country with higher development, human development level are not necessarily in favor of US. This is just contrary to what I expect from hypothesis 1. How about China? Actually, the country with high economic freedom are in favor of China. They thought that the China influence favorable to their own country, Singapore, Hong Kong. This is also not what I expected. However, the country with a high score in liberal democracy, they tend to think that China to be unfavorable. This is one of the supporting evidence I had. Taiwan, Japan, South Korea, Australia, they are high in liberal democracy index. They also at the same time tend to think that China is unfavorable. And it is human development index. This is again high human development in high. If you are high in score for human development, you are more likely to favor China. This is not what I expect from hypothesis 1. Okay, so in basically for the US, it's hard to predict the level of amiable attitude towards the US according to their institution. More openness, high in globalization, high score in democracy, or high in human development. These are all structural characteristics of the US as well as other developed countries, but they are not necessarily mean that they would affect how people think about the US, whether the US are favorable or not. Now, let's go to the second part of my hypothesis. My second part hypothesis is about individual perception of the governments, of the economic conditions. What I said, buffers. You can see that I'm using a regular a conventional regression model to estimate the difference. The model I use has two set of predictors. The first one is called country fixed effect. This is a set of dummies, a variable to capture the difference between countries, control the difference of the countries. So actually, this is more similar to what I talked about before using the bar chart. I'm comparing in here the list of the country with the Australia as a reference group. The important part is that here I have this blue arrow to show the key finding. If a individual think that their his or her country is doing good in terms of economic, then he or she is more likely to say that U.S. influence is favorable. Also, China is favorable. The same thing here, government efficacy. If they believe that their government is doing good, their government is effectively making a decision or managing economics, they are more likely to think that the U.S. influence is okay. Nothing to worry about. For example, China's influence. So the buffers works great in my model. The third one is nationalism. I can see that if a respondent is high in nationalist attitude, he or she is more likely to say that we got to be careful about the U.S. influence. We got to be careful about China. So then the relationship is negative, both in here for China, for influence of U.S., influence of China. For the people with high nationalism, they are very concerned. They have worries. So they are being being highly alert. However, I like to show that there are two deviant cases. I checked the correlation pattern for each country and found out that in Australia and as well in Taiwan, there's what I call different pattern or deviant case, or some people might say that this is outliers. In Australia and as well in Taiwan, the stronger the national attitude, the more amiable and individual attitude toward U.S. So it's the opposite for the other countries. In Australia, I probably it's an Anglophone sphere, or might be some influence from Anglo-Saxon culture. So nationalism means that vigilant against other countries, but not U.S. But not U.S. This is a different story. And in Taiwan, another story. For many nationalists in Taiwan, their major concern is China. So nationalism in Taiwan means that people want to be different, want to keep a distance from China. But however, these people think that they can be friends with the U.S. Pro-independence means that in a sense, they can get some help from the U.S. Whether true or not, I'm not going to comment about it, but many people think this way. Therefore, they are more pro-independence. Also, these people are pro-American. So you see that the fighting, the nationalists and the people high in the nationalist score are at the same time pro-American. This is a quite unique pattern you found in Taiwan, not elsewhere. Okay, so I'd like to go to the conclusion. This is the pattern you might find nationalism and unfavorable attitude towards either US or China. This is I find in Malaysia, this is a more typical pattern. And this is Australia. High in nationalism, people high in nationalism are more likely to say that support for US. But high nationalism in Australia, they are less likely to favor China. The same pattern here. In Taiwan, nationalism are leading to a higher support for the US, but lower support for China. This is Hong Kong. Also an interesting case. High nationalism, they are more likely to support China, but not likely to be friendly towards the US. So this is the conclusion. Institutional similarity does not predict the attitudes towards a global power in the studied country. Buffer hypothesis is supported strongly with evidence. Supporting findings are obtained for nationalism hypothesis. Yet there are two deviant cases, Australia, Taiwan, which need granular analysis of their specific political and cultural ties with the US. Okay, I stop here. Thank you very much for your attention and for your participation this afternoon. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks very much, Professor Tsai, for this wonderful talk and with a lot of great revelations about institutional similarity or the buffer, and also how nationalism can play a role. Please send in your questions in the Q&A function. So before you do, maybe I can, take the chair's prerogative to ask a question. It's not really a question; it's more about the timing of your data. I think that can have important implications. I can imagine if the data were collected for, say last year or this year, you would have, so that can make a very interesting further study, comparative studies, because I mean, in terms of nationalism, you talk about, if you think about 2018, 2019, when the Trump was in power, the Trump administration, and that, I think, lowered the U.S. Reputation quite significantly. So you could see a lot of the trends in the 2018 and 2019, which would be counterintuitive. And then you add Trump into the picture, and then you sort of, okay, maybe that's the case. But also 18 and 19, even though the Chinese economy had slowed down significantly, it was still doing quite well in comparison to others. And, basically, the most recent financial crisis in China had been leading the global economic recovery, so contributing about a third to the global economic recovery. But then if you add the 3 years of COVID, 3.5 years, that would change the picture quite differently in terms of the level of confidence in the government's capacity and all of that. So I guess that the timing of the data collection can be important, I think. So that's my observation in that regard. Now, do you want to make a comment, or I can go to the question?
I would. Thank you, Professor Yuan. This is excellent comment. Yes, indeed, the timing and the context of my data are, really has to be, exposed. I didn't say much about that in the beginning. Yes, indeed, as you know that a cross-national survey as big like this, they always has to survey the whole area every 3 or 4 years. It's not likely to do it every year because it's very expensive. Very expensive. The question is that they have a big questionnaire, a long one, and they have to send a interviewer face-to-face interact with the respondent. So it's very time-consuming. So they are not able to collecting data online, for example. Recently, people the answer question online. You can collect the data very quickly, but this is a different project. Indeed, but this means that it has some limitation. For example, it's before COVID-19. I don't know. It probably if we have a survey data like this for 20 or 21, the story might be very different, especially response to China. China can be, more even more unfavorable because many countries believe that China has to be responsible for the spreading of the COVID-19. It could be a different story even. Also Trump, yes, indeed. It seems that in the Trump era period, this is a higher level of nationalist attitude towards even China, toward China, also in Taiwan. Okay, so indeed, this is a very special time or what is it, context, or we used to say that this is a period effects. Period effects could be a effect on the average. But however, if you look at the individual attitude, high or low, in my belief, it's less affected by the outside context. The outside context might have a impact on the average score. but not individual pattern response. So this is what I think about whether we evaluate how the specific time or period effect affected the outcome of my data. Thank you very much. This is a wonderful comment.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, definitely your data, I mean, interpreted in that context, I think it's accurate.
Yeah.
And I would be interested in your next project. Maybe you will do a post-COVID. You know,
Yes, I definitely would do it. Definitely would do it.
That would be
But
very interesting.
I don't know. As far as I know, they haven't studied it yet.
Okay.
They haven't studied it. I think that they are, they have made these data available to the public only recently. Means that they clean up the data already. So their next step should be, go to the field, do interview for the next wave. I believe that they are doing it. It's small.